Hey guys, Zom Fox here, and today we're going to be talking about Brandon Aubrey and Jake Bates, two kickers from the ultra-modern spring football era who are currently perfect through the first 2 weeks of the 2024 NFL season. Now, the 2024 NFL season currently has a couple of other big notable things with spring football. Well, really the main one being the fact that an eighth of all starting kickers came from spring football. Now, while guys like Nick Folk and Younghoe Koo did play in the NFL before spring football, they were able to revive their careers in the AAF. So, eighth of all teams are currently rocking a spring football kicker as their starting kicker. But we're going to be talking about the two ultra-modern kickers for today with Brandon Aubrey and Jake Bates, who both are still perfect. So we're going to start by looking at Brandon Aubrey. Now, Brandon Aubrey, we're not going to go fully into what he did last week, as you already talked about that in a video last week. But this past week, he was pretty much one of about 3 Cowboys that actually had a good game. Now, I covered this game in my live play-by-play. It was rough. The Cowboys just looked bad. Dak Prescott got a lot of praise for playing very mediocre football. Overall, it was really just Jalen Tolbert and CeeDee Lamb that did anything on offense. And Brandon Aubrey was the only guy that was actually consistent. It was pretty obvious he was the best player on the team on Sunday. The fact is he made all 4 of his field goals, which included a couple of pretty long ones. He had 2 that were 40-plus, and he had a 50-yarder as well, and he was perfect from them. The fact is with Aubrey is that he has proven to be, at this moment, one of, if not the best kicker in the league. Justin Tucker has officially lost that mantle. The fact is if you still consider Justin Tucker the best kicker in the league, you really haven't been paying attention or you're a biased Ravens fan. The fact is Tucker has become very inaccurate from distance, which in today's NFL is the most important thing about a kicker, all things considered. With teams going for it on fourth down at a higher and higher rate, especially close to the end zone, you realize that being bad at 50-yard field goals is a death sentence in the NFL now. And if we're being honest, if it wasn't for Justin Tucker's past accomplishments, the way he's been playing the past couple of years, this season and last year, would be grounds to be released by many other teams, which might sound crazy. But going like 1 of 8 in your last 8 50-yard field goals is inexcusable for a kicker in the 2024 NFL. Now, basically, the argument is pretty much Brandon Aubrey or Harrison Butker. I know some would argue Nick Folk or Jake Elliott for their accuracy the past couple of years. But really, Brandon Aubrey is, in my opinion, and this isn't coming from a spring football guy, it's just obvious that at this moment he is the best kicker in all of football. He is currently on pace to be a first-team All-Pro kicker for the second straight year. Granted, it's only been 2 weeks. But through 2 weeks, he is 4 of 4 on 40-yard field goals, and he's 3 of 3 on 50-yard field goals, while being perfect from extra points, which was the one area he did show some weakness in last year. Now again, if it wasn't for awful clock management, he would have tied the NFL record for longest field goal ever made in Week 1, and he had an opportunity to kick a 71-yarder, which they decided to not let him do. Now, we did see that again this week with Harrison Butker also having an opportunity to break the record, this time with a 68-yarder, and the Chiefs didn't let him, which was really sad to see. But the fact is, Aubrey is somebody who definitely could break the record. And again, this is somebody who last year was incredible, the best kicker in the league. And this year, he looks to be even better than last year. Every time he goes out to kick, it doesn't matter how many announcer jinxes there are, he just makes the field goal. I mean, it's honestly remarkable. And the fact is, again, it's only been 2 weeks, but through 2 weeks, he has been the best kicker in the league. And the odds of him breaking or tying the NFL longest field goal record are honestly pretty good. The fact is, he is a really powerful kicker. I mean, everybody in spring football talks about Jake Bates' leg being powerful. Brandon Aubrey has kicked field goals that legitimately would have been good from 70. So it's very possible that he could break the record. Now, the next guy to talk about and the other guy we're talking about today is, of course, Jake Bates. Now, again, like Aubrey, I'm not going to go over exactly what he did in Week 1, but we're going to talk about what he did this past week. As this past week, he went 3 of 3 on field goals while also making an extra point. Again, one of the very few players that was really consistently good for the Lions. Now, of course, he was not the best player, unlike Aubrey, as Aiden Hutchinson had an unbelievable day for the Lions. Didn't matter, though, because the Lions lost. And a lot of that was Jared Goff not playing his best football. The offense overall didn't really, do too much. They got stalled out in the red zone a lot, and they went for fourth downs. Didn't matter. Overall, for Jake Bates, though, the biggest issue with him is the fact that, as you just saw from the clips of all his field goals and his stats, he has yet to make a single distance kick. His longest field goal is a 35-yarder, which, again, in the NFL in today's day and age, is nothing. That is a freebie. He has not made a single difficult kick in a difficulty setting, in a difficulty sort of way. Now, obviously, in a setting, he has made a difficult kick. He made the game-tying field goal against the Rams in Week 1 to send the game to overtime. But in terms of an actually difficult kick, he has yet to even attempt one. Now, this did lead to a massive question because during the fourth quarter of the game, they had an opportunity to let him kick a 59-yarder, which would have by far been his career long in the NFL. Now, again, us UFL fans know that this is a guy who can easily make that. He made multiple 60-plus yard field goals in the UFL this past season. Now, there were accuracy issues during the end of the UFL season, but through 2 weeks so far, he hasn't shown those issues during games. So the idea to not even let him attempt it is crazy. Yes, the reasoning sort of made sense. Their defense was playing really good, all things considered. Punt the ball with a great punter, pin him in a really bad situation. And in theory, it looked like it was going to work. The issue is the offense still wasn't doing all that well. And that's where you see the issue of the take the points when you can. Yes, if you make that kick, that means that Tampa Bay is going to get the ball in much better field position than they would have if you punt the ball. But you're still only going to be down by 3 points instead of being down by 4. If you're down by 1 point naturally, I mean, it's just, this was a poor coaching decision by Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell is the guy that is supposed to be this, we're going to do the riskier play. And yes, a 59-yarder is a risky play by an NFL rookie kicker. But the fact is, this is a guy who has made those kicks multiple times over. He hasn't just made those kicks. He's made long-distance game-winning kicks. I mean, the first one that made him famous was a 64-yarder, which was a game-winning field goal, which he made twice due to being iced. So the fact that you didn't let him try it, it ended up costing you the game. Because if he had made that kick and everything else worked out, your defense stalled out the Bucs offense, which they did, and you get the ball back and get too close to the red zone, you can just kick a field goal. Instead, you're stuck having to go for a TD. You don't get it, you lose. I get it that hindsight's 20/20, but even at the moment, this was an insanely poor coaching decision by Dan Campbell. And again, we need to hope that he learns his lesson and realizes that, hey, you got a kicker with a very powerful leg to the point where Jake Bates is legitimately one of the 3 most powerful kickers in the NFL. His issue was his accuracy. But so far, he has made these field goals, which these lesser distance kicks were a concern for him, but so far he's looked perfect because he's been perfect. So let him attempt these long field goals. You need to make sure he's that guy for your team now so that when you get to the playoffs and it becomes hey, you need to kick a 55-yarder to win the game, he can do it. So far, 2 weeks, a 35-yarder as your long is not going to get it done. But he is still perfect, and so is Brandon Aubrey, which is proving that, once again, spring football does matter. As kicker is really one of the toughest positions to hold down in all of the NFL. There's only one kicker spot. Just look at the Giants. The Giants lost this past weekend because their one kicker got hurt, and they had nobody else who could kick field goals on their roster, and they lost because of that. Kicker is important, and we're seeing it more and more year in and year out just how important that position is. And to see spring football, again, when you count the AAF, we're talking about an eighth of all teams having a spring football kicker as their starting kicker. But even in the ultra-modern era where people say the talent is worse than it was during the AAF and XFL 2.0 days, we are seeing 2 ultra-modern spring football kickers being perfect. That is why we need to keep this going. But overall, that'll do it. This has been Zom Fox. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified as soon as I upload any videos. If you want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram, just find me in the same name, ZomFoxUFL. We're trying to get those up and start posting more on both of them. And of course, the video coming up later this week is either going to be a dedicated AAF video, which I've never done on the channel before, or it's going to be my first What If video. So be on the lookout for those. We are expecting to find out the Memphis Showboats head coach within the next couple of weeks. So hopefully that comes out. But who knows? Again, if you've been a fan of the channel for a while, think about becoming a community member for as low as 99 cents a month. You get a bunch of benefits, an exclusive monthly video, and this month's video is going to be really good. Not for me, but for you guys, it's going to be really good. You get team emojis, you get exclusive posts and all that. And as always, guys, have a great night.